Hey, I'm Dale. Welcome back to Dale Bassett Timbers and the Shed Mahal. Now, what happens when you find your kid's stash of crayons? You make it into stuff. Shh, they'll never know. So just turning the back just quickly with that. That's just a nice basic easy OG shape. So in and out. And the innie, the mortise has been done, so that's all ready. But in real turning time, that only took 4 and a bit minutes, so 4.5 minutes. So it doesn't actually take very long. I mean, this is Silky Oak, so it's really, really forgiving and really soft in reality. But yep, what do I need to sand with this? Maybe 120. I might get away with 180. We might just start at 180 and see how it goes. That's all good. But yeah, it's actually a reasonably quick process. So we'll just do a little bit of sanding. Then I might just do the rim around the edge just quickly, and then we'll flip him over and start to do the inside and get ready for the crayons. Ha ha! All right. Now to do what I just did, which is just going along a rim on the outside, to make sure that you don't skip backwards across the bowl, you have to have that face nice and closed when you start. Once you actually get a bevel presentation, which is the flat bit, then you can start to twist him open a little tiny bit. But to start with, have it nice and closed. Otherwise what will happen is you'll go there and you'll actually start and you'll skip right back around the corner, because it'll want to try and push away from the wood, and it'll push away out around that corner and you'll rip up that rim. That's just a little bit of a handy hint. But I've also left the rim here a little bit thicker because of what I'm planning to do with the crayons. I just need a little tiny bit of depth. That will just make sure that things don't go awry in about 10 minutes or so when I start doing that. There we go. Let's get on with it. So I wasn't going to bore you with all of the sanding. Started on 180 grit and I've moved up to 800. Just about to put a finish on it. Really don't need to finish much more than about 800 for this. Once I've got some grit on there, that will actually polish up really, really nicely. Then we can turn him around and start on the other side. We're getting there. It actually doesn't take very long. This is a fun one. Cool. Then we find a clean bit of rag and then we buff it after we've rubbed it all in. You watch the shine come out with this. Pretty neat. See, that's come off on the rag. We've just got to get that a little bit cleaner. Find the last little bit of clean rag. There we are. And then when we've got no residue coming off anymore, we know we're pretty much polished. Don't you dare call me a polisher. I heard you. I did. So that's the back done. See, that comes up really, really nicely. It's just a nice little, easy bit of silky, but the colour of that's really nice. The shape's really nice. It looks like that ring around there is an imperfection, but that's actually just the angle. So we're getting that from the filming. But we'll spin him around, and then we'll start doing the front, and we'll start doing the tricky dicky stuff where we're going to start with the stolen crayons. I'll be so cranky. God, it's fun being a parent. See, now we can see where the rim's going to go, and that's where the crayons are going to go, down in there. So we're going to do some rainbow stuff with the crayons, and we're going to get a heat gun out and we will melt it. Now the reason why I put the finish on now is so that it actually puts a little tiny bit of a wax coat on there already. So if I have any sploppage with the crayons, which is very likely given that it's me, and there's going to be mess because it's just the way that we roll around here, then it's very, very easy to grab a really sharp scraper with a nice burr on it, and all I need to do is then just scrape very lightly and all that crayon will come off and no residue will be left. Alright, so we'll take this off now and we'll pop it in, and we'll start stripping all that cardboard, rubbishy paper stuff off the crayons. Fun. Really good for a bloke with one hand to try and do this stuff. Good on you, Dale. Well done, Sunshine. Legend. After doing lots of crayon projects over the years, and I've done a few, none of them have actually been on film, so this is the first time. I realised when you get your crayon packet, I mean this is only a small packet, but when you get your crayon packet, or packets, I've got quite a few here, go whack them in the freezer. Because if you whack them in the freezer, that's the easiest and best way to get those paper tubes off. Because if you try and just push them off by hand, particularly up here in the tropics, you're going to have a devil's time doing it and you're going to get cranky. That's because these things, these days, are actually made from paraffin wax. So, yep, whack them in the freezer. Makes it a lot easier. Now I think I've got about 100 and 200 or whatever else I'm going to do in terms of stripping these things off and getting rid of them. Alright, it's just going to be a process. I might film a bit of it, I might not, whatever. Take paper off crayon, they said. You'll be happy, they said. It'll look fabulous, they said. Do it with one arm, they said. Well, that was a freaking top idea, wasn't it? Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Steady, steady. This is going to take hours. Alright, so 15,000 hours later, one set of testicles, 11 toenails, and a bum-tart of swearing. This is however many we've got stripped out in terms of taking the paper off. You know that tip I gave you before? Ignore it. It was crap. It was a load of lies. It was a load of bollocks. Just about had to cut every one of them. Anyway, onwards and upwards. We've got lots of colours. Now we're going to start the fun stuff. Beautiful. Yeah, dropped it. I dropped it on the floor.
Where?
That doesn't matter.
You want me to pick it up?
Nope. It's alright. Here's the bottom. Oh, what? What? Another little tiny bit of that red just to pop in there. I've got lots left over.
You're
So
asking advice, or
Yeah.
how do you say it?
yeah, and then ignoring it.
Yes,
I know. I do that.
because you already had in mind what kind of color you want to
I was
use.
being rhetoric.
And I still think it's not supposed to be yellow.
Okay. Can you grab my heat gun from down the back there? Somewhere? Please? Now that's actually looking really cool. I'm actually really happy with that. Whoop, bright light. Ow. Now I've just got to clean it up. Well, wait for it to set. That might take a little while because it's a bit warm at the moment. It's still 30 lots degrees here in Townsville. So, yep. And don't know whether I'm going to do it just by hand or put it back on the lathe to be able to clean it up. But I'm really, really happy. Awesome. All right, so where are we at? Well, We've got it to a point now where the crayons have actually gone off, gone hard. Now the weird thing is, because I'm living up here in North Queensland in the tropics, and it's really stinking hot and I'm in the shed mahal, often it's over 35 Celsius in the shed. Now crayons melt at sort of between 120 and 150 Fahrenheit. So that in proper language isn't actually really that hot. So that's about 50 degrees Celsius. At 55, something like that. I can't remember. I need to pull out my calculator. But what that means is that it's actually taken a lot longer to go off than what it normally would. I've had some suggestions to say whack it in the fridge or whack it in the freezer, but what happens with that is if all the crayons set too quickly, nearly lost what I was going to say. If they set too quickly, they contract and they crack, and I didn't want any of that, so I just had to let it set for a little while naturally. So what we're going to do is going to clean off these edges, and then we'll put a finish on it, and yeah, happy days. Hold on. So there we go. What do you reckon? Just something very, very different. Felt like a little bit of colour. And I've always had crayons around. So, thanks kids. God knows what they're going to do now for colouring in. But I like it. I like the rainbow. I reckon it looks awesome. I'll take some stills and we'll put those on the end so you can actually see a little bit more when it's laying down flat. But yeah, very, very happy. So crayons and Silky Oak. Alright guys, next time.